So far so good. Let's add the next argument, which is the MAC. So, because as you know, I'm lazy, I'm just gonna do Control D in here, and that'll duplicate this line for me. And now all I have to do is just change the options in here. So the next option that I'm adding to my parser object is the option to allow the user to enter a new MAC address. So we're going to use -m for the MAC, or they can do --MAC to give me the MAC. We're going to store this under new MAC, and in the help we're going to say new MAC address. Okay, just another option. We added it exactly the same that we added the one before. And because we're calling the parser.parseArgs, we don't really need to do anything more. If we go down and run the help again, you can see we have a new option, which is -m or --MAC. And the help message for this is it's the new MAC address that the person wants to use. Now, this is all good. Now we're displaying the right help message. We can accept user input using the arguments. The only thing is we're still not able to use the values that the person enters. So we're still not using it anywhere in the code, and we don't even know how to use that. Now, let's have another look at our code. So first we're creating an object that can handle user input using arguments. Then we're adding options to this object. And finally, we're using a method with this object that's called parseArgs, which basically allows the object to understand what the user has entered and handle it. It also returns the arguments and the values that the user entered to a variable if we actually give it a variable. So it returns two sets of information. It returns the arguments and the values. So for example, let's say we run python macchanger.py and we set the interface to LAN 0 and we set the MAC to 001122334455. In this case, the arguments are interface and MAC, and the values are LAN 0 and 001122334455. So that's why when we call parser.parseArgs, it's going to go through everything that the user inputs in here, and it'll separate it into two sets of information. The first set is arguments, which is interface and MAC, and the second one is the values or options, which is LAN 0 and the MAC address in here. So to capture these two sets of information, we have to use variables. And to do that, we're going to do, because we're using two variables in one line, we're going to have to use two brackets, and we're going to say options arguments are equal to whatever parser.parseArgs will return to me. So you can think of this as a function. It's actually a method, not a function. And we'll talk about that in more details later on. But what you need to understand is this method will return two sets of information, the arguments and the options. And to capture this, we're using two variables. We're calling them options arguments are equal to whatever this is going to return to me. Now, keep in mind, all the names I'm using here, parser, options, arguments, I'm picking these names because I want to. You can literally use X, Y, Z if you wanted to. But like I said, it's good to use meaningful names because it makes programming easier and it makes our code clearer. So, after this line, the options variable is going to contain the values. So it's actually going to contain LAN 0 and 001122334455. And the arguments variable is going to contain the arguments. So it's going to contain --interface --MAC. So By understanding this, you probably know that we're actually not going to use the arguments variable right now because we never really use the arguments within our code. But what is useful to us is the options here, because this is what contains the values that the user inputs. To access the value for the interface, which is len 0, all we have to do is do options.interface. So it's whatever value that we used in the dest in here. Same goes for the MAC address. If we want to access the value that the user set for the MAC address, all we have to do is just do options.newMAC. So again, it's the value that we set in the dest in here. So you can literally replace every occurrence here of interface with options.interface and every occurrence in here of newMAC with options.newMAC. Or to make it easier and make our code more readable, we can just do interface equals options.interface and newMAC equals options.newMAC. And that's it, we're done. Now, since interface and newMAC are already being used in here, there is nothing else we need to do. Now, let's go and run our code. I've already typed my command, so we're doing Python MAC changer. We're giving it the interface, which is len 0. We're giving it the MAC, which is this. If we hit enter, you'll see the print statement is actually printing the right values for us. And if we do if config len 0, you'll see that my MAC address got reset to the MAC address that we want here. Now, let's use the program using the shorter arguments, using the -i and -m. So we can just do Python macchanger.py and we can just do -i like this, and let's change the MAC address this time for ETH0 and do -m, set the new MAC, hit enter. Again, print statement is working fine, and if we do if config ETH0, you'll see that the MAC address changed to what we wanted to. Now our program is actually pretty good. It accepts user input using arguments, it displays a help message if the target person wants to, and the person can set a MAC and an interface through the command line, and it'll execute it and change the MAC for them. Now in the future, we're actually going to be using more modules, more objects, more arguments, and everything I showed you so far is going to become clearer.